Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this session. So there may be some beginner meditators in the group today. So the beginner's teacher he asked if for the people, the new people, new meditators, if they can go next door in the room on this right-hand side. So with the format of the session, I'll do the meditation guidance format, and then we'll do the session, and then I'll do I've got a few questions which need to be answered. This particular session's going to be recorded, and there's a number of people in Sri Lanka who are listening in, so I'll do answer the questions in the last stage of the session. So with the meditation practice, most of you are reasonably well versed. So understandably, this particular process that we're involved into, it's quite, simple in nature, but complicated to actually work with and to get good results in the long term. So you need to develop, quite a high degree of, meditation skill and insight to be successful with this practice. And because intrinsically, you're working with, different forces and energies deeper down, in the mind, just layers and layers of different thought constructs, feelings, past karma. So you're going to have to work through quite a lot of, personal material within your personality to settle down. But it's not just that; it's just the skill, it's the ability to deal with the underlying, energies in the personality, and the ability to essentially maximize one's sense of detachment and letting go. Because in order to drop the mind down into a state of, samadhi or tranquility, it's a key principle. So within the sutras, the Buddha talked about this, about the suppression of the 5 hindrances in order to develop deep stages of peacefulness. But intrinsically, you need this principle of letting go. It's the key principle for the development of the samatha meditation. So how do we let go and detach within the meditation process? Because as we start to develop a focus with the meditation object, then you just become more and more aware, because you're focusing in on your own process, the bodily process, which is the breath, the breathing meditation, mantras, walking, all this focusing on one's mind and body phenomenon increases your personal awareness of your personality, your characteristics, personal characteristics, and then you're going to have to work with that stuff and try to settle it down. So it's like in our normal state, So for example, the regular meditators are well aware of this. That if you meditate very lightly, you don't put too much pressure on in the practice, you can feel emotionally reasonably comfortable. But as soon as you start increasing the force, the amount of hours per day, then you really start to see, yourself for what you are, the strengths, the weaknesses, the things which you may not necessarily like to see, or you may see very strong views, opinions. You may see anger, irritation, different attachments, things that you may think that are out of character for you, but they're just on a deeper level in the mind. So, because this process, you're actually you're moving into the mind into your sense of being. So you need to go through that to quite a large degree. So I'll just check with these. We've got a couple of people there just at the front. That's okay. So with the so developing this ability, this skill to actually settle down with the practice. So you really need to understand your makeup to quite a reasonable degree. You know, there's many different tools and practices that you can work with to, say, maximize the detachment, the letting go, but they're not foolproof. They'll, like I know all the little tricks, all the little methods, with meditation practice, many tools in my toolbox, so to speak. But you can take, say a single practice, a single application within the meditation parameter, and it's going to work for a degree. For say a period of time with particular states of mind, but it's not going to be foolproof. It's not going to work across the range, because the mind can bring up, you can bring up so many, you can bring up thousands, you can bring up hundreds of thousands of mental states up into your awareness, and you have to continually keep adjusting the practice, changing the tools and the way you use different tools and the time you use these particular applications. And over time, it can, for something so simple as just focusing on the breath, it can become a little bit of a complicated issue. I was in conversation with someone a couple of days back, and it's quite interesting. They kept emphasising this letting go, and it's something I actually hadn't used as a mantra formulation for quite some time. And I spent about, maybe about 3-4 hours on it, on the rest of the day, rest of the afternoon, evening, and it was very, very effective. So it was something we'll work on with this particular session. We'll use this letting go as a mantra formulation, just so you can see how effective it was. So I was using this emptiness principle for quite a number of weeks there, and it worked very well for at least 3 weeks or so, and then it started to sort of taper off. So this letting go formulations, like the flavour of the month. So we'll just see how it goes. So with the meditation session, if you just basic instructions, just get yourself in a comfortable position with your back nice and straight, head upright and comfortable. Make sure you can breathe into the full chest, and make sure you've got nothing tight around the waist, the legs and whatnot. And breathe fully into the chest section. So with the focus, just maybe now we'll just stay with one focus, just something that works quite effectively for me, and it helps the intermediate people get reasonable results, because you can go in the beginning stages, you can go quite broad, but you may find it takes quite some time to settle down. So quite a reasonably sort of sharp but comfortable focus is to say focus on the mouth, around the mouth to lips, and just watch the breath on the periphery. It doesn't increase. Still within a comfortable range, doesn't increase too much tension between the eyes or the face. So just watch the breath at that point around the mouth. And with the formulation, the letting go formulation, if you just choose a mantra of your choice, what I've been using is breathing in, let go, and then breathing out, leave a space, then breathing in of, say, thoughts or thinking. So, let go of thoughts or let go of thinking. Whatever suits you, and you can adjust it to your personal preference, and you can do it, say, with spaces between the words. Time it in the breath, which suits you, either with spaces or continuously. And we'll do that for the main part of the session, and then I'll answer the questions for the Skype session, say in the last 15 minutes. So just close your eyes, and then we'll make a start with that one, and I'll just give you some input as we go along. If you find that you're not settling down fast enough, just zero in on the obstructive state, that feeling, that thought process, that person, and just change the formulation to the letting go of that particular phenomena, and just try it out and see how it goes. If you find that the mind is still a little bit too active for your liking, switch over to the said wisdom practice and try to understand what's actually happening there. These thoughts, these feelings, which will not settle down. Try to investigate those from a full perspective, 360-degree perspective. Maximize your understanding and insight into that mental state, because the more you understand, the more the mind relaxes and settles down. you're still having difficulty settling down, just increase the sustained attention, the mental, say, energy or effort. So whatever mantra formulation you're using, just do it continuously with no spaces between the words. Just maximize the sharpness of the mindfulness and don't give space for thoughts to arise in the mind. So we're coming towards the end of the session, so just reflect back over the meditation and see exactly what worked for you and when. So you've got to develop an understanding of exactly how your mind and these forces, in the underlying forces in the personality, how they work. So I'll ring the gong 3 times. You can open your eyes when you're ready. Did anybody have any questions on the meditation at all? Before I start this Skype session for some people in Sri Lanka. Okay, so you can stick around if you like, but if not, you can head off. So what I'll do is with the question session here, some of these questions are have Pali terms which I basically haven't learned Pali whatsoever, so I'll skip them. And okay, so I'll start at the top. So, how may working people proceed successfully in the path of meditation through anger and other things in the office environment? Anger, selfishness, say difficulties between themselves and other people. So, with as far for working people, professional people who are interested in meditation, but they're in an environment where they find that the mind becomes provoked, or people push their buttons, or they find they feel the stress, the impingement, with the demands of the company and whatnot. So, I mean, something I'd always recommend. There's different views and perceptions that you can actually develop within the meditation, which will carry across to your everyday life. There's quite a few you can experiment with, and the ones I put emphasis on is, say, the 3 characteristics, especially, say, changeability and emptiness. I don't ask people to focus on dukkha, on suffering too much, because essentially it'll just make you negative and depressed. So with changeability, with anicca, you're going to feel a sense of say, like mild dispassion. Some people, it won't touch you like whatsoever, but it depends on the character. So, but essentially, if you're in a situation where you're doing a particular practice and you feel bad, I'd be more inclined to avoid it. If you can't work with it, improve it or whatnot. But the emptiness principle, particular states, feelings, people, life experiences are empty in nature. Thinking, the universe, the world, is empty in nature. So you can just keep moving back between, inner states, between yourself, the world, the universe, and try to maximize the detachment. So as you experiment with these different kinds of perceptions, you just watch the mind closely and see what works for you. I mean, I've been doing this one, say, for the last 6 weeks, and I found it quite effective for about maybe 4 weeks, and then it started to sort of die off, and then I switched over to this kind of letting go mantra formulation, and it was very fast. I mean, very effective, very fast. But it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts. So you can do. There's other little tricks you can do. Like you've got to be a bit careful with these ones. Like if you've got a particular person in the office, you don't get along with, you don't like, maybe the boss is giving you trouble, whatever, a particular person, that person, is going to, you can use this kind of mantra formulation with the meditation when you do your daily practice, or even as a reflection during the day, when this person's around. And just reflect, that person, they're going to die, they can't last, they're going to be gone within whatever, 10, 20 years. And whatever strong emotions, strong attachments you have with that individual, once you start bringing in this principle, of, with the death of that person, it's a very fast way to sort of cool the mind off and, to minimise the attachment with that person, because whether you love that person or hate them, as soon as you start really considering the determination, the death of that person in the short or long term, it's really going to cool off the attachment on whatever level it is. And what else could you do? And just like general, general investigation. If you've got some difficulty or there's a problem or whatnot, they need to understand exactly what's happening. Why they have maybe a sense of aversion or dislike or have some difficulty with this person. Because as long as if the person doesn't investigate, if they don't actually see what's going on inside the mind, or maybe on a slightly deeper level, it's very difficult to, to let it go if you can't really see what's happening there, or the mind those underlying defilements, they just stick. They're just not going to let go, because you want, then the defilements aren't going to let go of this particular person or experience just because you feel like it. You've got to understand what's actually happening there, what's going on. So, you may have half a dozen tools, you can experiment with them, work with them in different ways. But, when it comes down to tin tacks, because we're all very different people, you have to see what works for you, like over time. Because, some things they'll work, they can work for a couple of weeks, they can work for even 2 or 3 months, and then you reach like a plateau where that particular approach is just not effective anymore, and then you have to switch, try different things, because the mind keeps changing, underlying defilements keep moving and shifting, and because the defilements oppose the path, and what you're actually doing with this practice is that you're working with those forces and energies. Let's see now. So, how does saddha, or faith or confidence in Dhamma, impact on one's meditation? So with this element of faith, it's very much an experiential thing. I mean, how does it feel? You're sitting in meditation, you've got a sense of faith, confidence, possibly devotion in the mind, and I mean, the effect that I see within myself and other people is a sense of say, like an increase in energy, an increase in, say, trust in Dhamma teachings, and this, and a belief, maybe a very either a weak or a firm belief that you have the potential to really develop yourself with this practice, and eventually, you are going to get enlightened. It doesn't make any difference how long it takes, whether it takes 2 lives, 3 lives. For every single one of us, whether it's slow, fast, hard, or easy, you don't have any choice. You have to do this work and eventually break through to the truth, the ultimate truth, for those who have that level of conviction. Okay, there's a couple of questions there with Pali terms, so I'll just leave those alone. I'll just move down. Okay, we have from time to time people who follow other meditative systems. Some may be Christian, and you may, you may be led to feel that this is also leading to Nibbana, which is not the case, in my personal opinion. What is the position? What are the positive attitudes in this and that system, and the negative sides of this? So not to undervalue the meditation practices that other people do in different systems, whether it's Hindu, Muslim, Christian. These people, they still get a degree of benefit, a degree of peace, calm, insight, tolerance, patience, compassion, kindness. They still develop the underlying factors which are actually linked with the meditation process. With mind development and body development, especially if they're keeping sila, whether it's Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or maybe a Jewish system of moral conduct. Maybe they get the benefits of this. It's the way the mind works in relation to Dhamma. They get the positive benefits from those different practices. So coming down to essential principles, the Buddha made it very clear in the suttas that you've got to have the Eightfold Path there, and people practicing that path for people to actually attain to enlightenment or Dhamma or full realization, or whatever you want to call it. Forget about realization of God and this kind of terminology. It just doesn't cut the ice. It's just, essentially you're talking about unification of God, oneness with Allah, and all the rest of it. It's essentially it's a jhana state. It's one-pointedness, deep, profound one-pointedness of mind in the jhana meditations, unification of mind. And for people who've got no credible teacher, who've got no really solid meditation vipassana experience, you can fall for that. If a person who really doesn't know what they're doing, if they fall into a jhana state as a Christian, they may feel that is Christian enlightenment. It's a very, the way say enlightened teachers would their opinion on that would be, you could easily take that for Christian enlightenment, because it's a very, very profound, deep, tranquil state, incredible peace, and the bliss and the happiness and the radiance within the mind, and all the rest of it which goes with that particular mental experience, that mind state. And it's quite credible. A person in other traditions with limited knowledge and experience could easily fall for that. They could take that as an enlightenment experience within their personal tradition. But essentially, it's just samadhi. It's just a very, very profound state of samadhi. Not to be sniffed at. It's well worth having. But you'll get a degree of insight from it. But you've got to make use of it. Samadhi is there. The higher purpose of samadhi is to develop your wisdom practice. That's the purpose of it. But it's still very useful. To be happy, peaceful, content, patient. These are very, very useful. I'd say qualities of mind. But at the highest level, the purpose of samadhi is to develop wisdom. And basically free the mind from these underlying, forces, energies in the mind. Free your mind from your personality construction. You've got to, essentially, you want to be able to, you want to remove the personality as the years go by, just slowly whittling it away. All the likes, dislikes, all your personal views and biases, opinions, and loves and hates. You want to settle all that down, and otherwise, it's as long as you've got the personality in the way, you can't get into deep samadhi. As long as you've got very, very strong feelings, you've got this thought process rolling, you won't reach that state. You've got to essentially in the jhanas, very, very firm upachara samadhi, the jhanas, the personality has to stop. The mind has to, that thinking mind, that the mind as you know it, it has to shut down and drop down to the base of samadhi. Let's have a look here. So if Mara came to a person who tries meditating and tries to change their desire to meditate, what are the strategies we have to get rid of him? Sometimes we feel we are unable to deal with willpower. When willpower prevails on us. So this business with Mara, with the underlying defilements in the mind, essentially you've got to be skillful. An easy way to understand the nature of the defilements is look at them within the context of the 5 hindrances. So whatever is actually coming up for you, whatever is actually blocking or obstructing, the path to peace, your meditation practice, you just got to zero right in. So, for example, you've got a problem with anger. Everyone has a degree of mixed states with mixed intensities. You may be the person who's got very, very strong anger, and the lust, the sensual desire, is weak. Maybe the doubt is weak, but the anger is the prominent one. So you choose that hindrance, which is at the top of the list, and then you. Especially with the regular meditators, you've got to choose the weapons, choose the tools that you're going to deal with that particular state of mind. So, for example, the classics with anger is to develop metta, compassion, maybe mudita to a very small degree. You experiment, you see. Metta is the antidote. Compassion is the antidote for cruelty. Sympathetic joy for envy. Resenting the success, the affluence, the material success of others. But there's other things you can do. So, for example, you can undermine anger with the emptiness principle, with changeability, with death, with this letting go kind of formulation. There's half a dozen principles that you can use. So you just experiment. You just keep moving back between one and the other, and then just see. What actually works for you, because these underlying energies, they constantly can just shift and change. Within seconds. As soon as you start putting the pressure on, you're developing your meditation. You've got an obstructive mind state. As soon as you choose the tool to work with this particular energy, this state. The mind's going to swap and change. Basically, the defilements are going to swap and change between people, scenarios, this and that. So you've got to be, basically on the ball, and you've got to get a feel for it, and then know how to work with your sort of your arsenal, so to speak, if it's too strong a word, and. But every single one of you, as the months and the years go by, you get a feel for it. The way your mind works, the way you tick. The kind of things which are actually blocking your practice, and then you can see what will work for you. In specific times and places, and what will work for you in the long term. So I'll finish it there. Yep, righto.
There was just one question. When you're in a meditation and you're fluctuating through different phases, and then all of a sudden I will get into a phase where I will either get very, very hot, excuse me, but just recently it's been extremely cold from inside. I'm just so cold inside, but it could be 110 degrees.
I'll just explain that kind of experience, or...
I beg your pardon?
Sorry, keep going.
So I just wanted to know, I tried to catch to see whether there was any thought there, or if there was any emotion there, and I couldn't catch anything. It was like I had moved into some area and it was just freezing cold.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could explain, the only possibilities there is, if you've got this kind of mental states where you feel very cold, one possibility is you could have karmic energies coming up. So, for example, you lived in a very cold environment in a past life and you get like a flashback to that time and place. That's one possibility. You can get maybe slight disturbances in the circulation of qi, in the physical body. For example, people who do qi kung quite regularly, the body it heats up. Once the qi starts to move, circulate, the body starts to warm up, and then, I mean, people sweat. They're just standing there doing nothing, and they're sweating. And it continues. The heat in the body continues on for easily 30 minutes, an hour. And what else could possibly happen there? It's possible that maybe underlying defilements in the mind could provoke kind of different, maybe bodily sensations, because the mind and body's connected. There's no way I could know exactly what's happening on the mental level, but there could be some.
I do know that I will focus on the brain, and I'll be just focused on that, cleansing and clearing all of the brain.
Right.
Yeah, passing the beautiful, peaceful, calm energies, relaxed, right through the whole brain. And as it goes right through the whole brain, I'm just wondering if there, like you say, defilements or something there that's triggering it.
Yeah, there
because
could be.
That's where my focus generally would be, or I had just left that area.
Yeah. I mean, I could believe it. A person could move into a space in the mind where there's a different kind of energy, mental experience. It's quite, because people, especially when people get into deep meditation, like Upachara Samadhi. I mean, all sorts of strange phenomena comes up in Upachara Samadhi. Things like not only changes in, say, bodily temperature and, say, bodily perception, like weightlessness or the feeling of space, but things like visions, smells, colours, bright lights. There's quite a wide range. So, what else? But that's all I can actually think of at the moment. But there's certainly the mind could moving into a particular zone within, because as the person gets deeper and deeper into the meditation, the space in the mind increases, and that means that you've got a lot of room, space, a lot of space in there, and your attention can actually move inside like this small universe, so to speak. People can have that experience where the tranquility is so great that their mind actually feels like a small universe inside. So there's a lot of room for your attention to move in different places and zones and spheres. And especially Upachara Samadhi, people can see that on a regular basis. It's quite an interesting state. That's all I can come up with. So has no one else had anything to come up with? Okay, so we'll finish up.